Hello, California Southern Baptist family. We're here with another 7 questions, and I'm super excited about this one because I get to interview my very, very good friend, Brandon Porter. Brandon, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, now I know what you do, but sometimes I mess up people's titles. So tell everybody here in California who you are and what you
Yeah,
do to serve Southern Baptists.
sure. So, my official long title is the Associate Vice President for Convention News for the SBC Executive Committee. So that's what I've been doing for the last 2.5 years. For the last 6 months or so, I've been filling the interim role of VP of Communications for the Executive Committee, and within the primary role, editor of Baptist Press probably is what takes the majority of my time.
Which is why you and I have become such good buds.
hmm hmm
We're handling all the news.
That's right.
And you, I believe, are our very first Baptist Press interview. So you
All
are
right.
the representative.
Awesome. There you go. We're breaking new ground.
All right, let's get to the 7 questions. The first is, besides the Bible, because we know everyone will say the Bible, is there a book that you go to more often than any other, or is there a book that you think every believer should have on their bookshelf?
I do. So there is a book called Respectable Sins. It was written by Jerry Bridges. It's not one of his most popular books, but the book talks about the sins that we all commit, that we all just sort of assume everybody does it, it's no big deal. And he talks about the seriousness of those sins and how they can tear at our witness and how they can affect our personal holiness and becoming more Christ like. And over the years, I've gone back to that book a lot of times just to be refreshed and kind of reconvicted of those sins and reminded of how I should be growing as a Christian.
So you read it often.
I do. I go back to it. Yeah, sure do. Yeah,
Wow.
I may not read it all. I may flip through the chapters and find the one that, oh yeah, that's the one I need to read this time.
Yeah.
And come back to it.
I foresee Amazon getting a bunch of orders because this is the first time we've gotten that answer, and I'm going to have
Really?
to get it. Yeah. All right. Now we get to the very serious, heavy hitting questions. And
Uh-oh.
these have been a lot more varied since we've gone national, but we're going to ask your
Okay.
preference, In and Out or Chick-fil-A.
Oh, probably In and Out. Yeah, we just don't have them in. Our office is in Tennessee, and I actually live in Kentucky. We just don't have them here. In and Out, that is, that they're coming. They're coming soon. But yeah, I would say In and Out.
Well, good. You get your honorary California residency card.
All right, there you go.
I thought for sure you were going to say Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, yeah.
All righty. What biblical character other than Jesus would you want to meet and why?
I think Paul would be the character I'd want to meet, and I think it's just because of his intellect. I love those long run-on sentences where he's just thinking and thinking and thinking, and I would love to sit down and I will. I'll look forward to that, to the opportunity to sit down and talk to him. I'm going to get in Paul's line and spend some time with him when we get there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's funny because most often when we interview a missionary, they will say Paul, and that makes sense to me.
Mm,
So when you said
yeah.
Paul, my brain had to think for a second. I was like, oh, writer, writer. That does sort of make sense to
Mhm.
me as well.
Yeah.
There's always
Yeah.
a connection.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good thought. Yeah.
Oftentimes, when we do these interviews, people have been sharing with me that they have a life verse. And so that's become one of our questions, and I'm interested. Do you have a life verse?
I do. I love Psalm 37:4. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Um, yeah, that's my favorite. It reminds me to focus on Him and to delight in Him and to trust that He knows me and that He cares about me and the things that I desire will be the things that He puts within me if I will make my focus Him.
Yeah. Has that always kind of been your verse, or is that the verse for the season?
No, it's been a long time. I can't tell you exactly when, but I would say, yeah, that at least 25 or 30 years. Yeah, long time.
Wow, that's a good one to cling to for 30 years.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. This has become a favorite from our readers. In fact, one of our readers asked us if we would begin asking this question, and so we did.
Okay.
What has been an evangelistic tactic that has worked best for you?
Yeah, so I love, there's a pastor in Louisville and I'm going on the spot right now, and I'm losing his name, but he has a track that he's written that says, "What is the good news?" That's what it says on the very front. Ask that question. And so I love to ask people if they've heard any good news recently, because that's something that you can do quickly. You know, if you're just in the line at a checkout, you can ask somebody. You got to make conversation with somebody. You're standing there. You know, you're going to spend 2 minutes or less with them, and you know, I hate to not make a little conversation with them, and so that's a great place to go. Or, you know, it's other folks when you have longer to spend talking to them. But that question, have you heard any good news lately? And it just opens the door, and I'm able to use that little track that explains what is the good news, and we can either talk about it now, or I can just leave it with you and encourage you to read that.
That's interesting. Did that become the inspiration for the podcast, Good News for Today?
Um, No, I don't think so. I think that podcast really is kind of a play on the fact that we want to talk about how. Well, first, I mean, the good news being the gospel. So we definitely want to, you know, make sure that there's emphasis there. But then we also want to try to look even at hard stories and talk about how God is at work in redemptive ways, even in the midst of hard stories. And so, like a real, for instance, would be, you know, we do stories about disasters, but there's always going to be disaster relief that's a part of that, or send relief, or you know, some kind of an effort. And so to me, that good news for today is that even in the midst of tragedy and hardship, God is in the midst of rescuing people, and pursuing them to care for them.
Does seem like your ministry kind of revolves around good news. The
Well,
good news.
yeah.
This is one of my favorite questions, which is why it has never been cut in the 3 years we've been doing 7 questions. When you think through all the names of Christ, which one resonates with you right now and why?
Yeah, I think about wonderful counselor.
Mm,
I can very easily slip into overthinking, being too analytical. And so I think about the wonderful counselor who can just kind of bring rest and calm, and you know, in time bring sense of things that are happening, and you know, cause us to not get lost in our thoughts and that analysis, but to focus on what he's called us to do.
that's so interesting because you attach wonderful counselor to anxious overthinking and not Prince
Hmm.
of Peace.
Mm,
That's a really interesting connection
yeah.
that you've made there.
Yeah. Well, I have a degree in biblical counseling from Southern Seminary, and so you know I have not only have I tried to help people, but I've been helped by biblical counselors over the years, just in walking through different issues and situations in life, and so you know I want to, I tend to, I think, make that first step prayer to go to Christ in prayer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so definitely praying for peace, but also praying for direction
Yeah.
and for rest and assurance and patience in the midst of difficult seasons.
It's interesting when we're not around each other all the time, but we sort of orbit around from time to time. And one of the things I appreciate about you is I'm such a frazzled and, crazy personality that I enjoy being around people who are tempered and level. They make me feel like the world has balance. And you're one of those people that I feel
Well,
like is sort of an anchor in a crazy
well,
space.
yeah. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I don't know that I feel that way. You know, I feel sort of like the duck, where the duck looks like everything's cool on the surface, but if you could see under the water, those little legs are just kicking like crazy.
That's
So.
right. Well, now that our people have gotten to know you a little bit more, this sort of Baptist press representative covering the nation, but who lives over there on the other side of the country, is there anything you want to say right now to California Southern Baptist leaders in our convention?
To the leaders, I think the thing I would say is that that we care about you, and that we consider you a part of this cooperative effort that we have together. That at Baptist Press we regularly talk about trying to cover stories in the West, California being one of those places out west. we realize so many of us, not only are we located in the South, but so many of us have grown up in the South, and we are very aware that we can be focused on what's happening in our neck of the woods, if you will, and we know that God is doing wonderful things there in California, and so we are so thankful, and there are just so many wonderful leaders, so many fantastic pastors, so many gifted believers in California. We're so thankful for how God is at work there, and we want to tell those stories.
Yeah, thanks for remembering us and holding us up. We really feel called to this ministry, and so to know that the bigger Southern Baptist family is keeping an eye out on us and seeing,
Yeah,
what the needs are and how we can be helped really means a lot. So thank you for that.
absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to be with us. I know you guys are really busy. Conventions coming down. You're about to get a brand new president over there
From California.
from California. We're very excited. I hope you guys are as excited as we are for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. Absolutely.
It's going to be a really great time for our
Yeah.
convention. But I'm so thankful for you and all that you guys at Baptist Press do to keep everybody informed and to keep telling the stories. And will we see you at convention this year?
I hope so. Planning to be there. Yeah.
Perfect.
We'll be working hard. Yeah, we write about 82 stories in that 4-day period. It's pretty amazing.
That's
But
incredible.
yeah, the team pulls together and we crank it out.
Well, hopefully some Californians now will come and see you and say, hey, I saw you on 7
Yeah.
Questions. That would be fun.
That'd be awesome.
You're encouraged to do that, California Southern Baptist. Thanks for joining us for this time to meet Brandon. Brandon, thanks again for being here.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll see you in print somewhere.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Bye-bye.